All right. I'm going to let everybody, I know there's lots of energy in the room. Oh, I feel like, right? Do, 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 do. 1, 2, da, 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 right? Go IU Hoosiers. Right, there you go. Yeah, woo, woo. Yeah, there you go. See, I knew I'd get y'all. All right, I know David May's giving me his University of Miami boo, right? You. All right. I know I've missed you all. It's so nice to see a beautiful packed room. First of all, just quick before we get started, how's the volume? Everything okay for everybody hearing? Great. In my back row, thank you. For folks that need chairs, if we need additional ones, let us know. We'll go pull them. There's some available in the back area over there. All right. 3:01 on our schedule. And okay, are we ready to go? Ready? Let's get going. All right, so happy January campus gathering. Hard to believe, 2026. We have a lot of great, exciting information today. Again, I have the pleasure of getting to be your executive director as Kirsten Cohn, the executive director of all Beautiful Things Givens Estates that we're going to be talking about today. Couple things. We may go a little bit long. We're going to try to keep it moving, but I want to respect the content. All of the slides will be available to you, so you'll be able to reference that material, so don't feel like you have to feverishly be recording. We'll get the information posted, and hopefully those that are watching us from the comforts of their home, you can see us okay and hear us okay for everything that's going on. We'll have folks with various microphones for questions, but really you're going to have myself and Kevin have the vast majority of some of this after Brenda takes us through a little bit of reflection time, since we have lost a lot of folks this past month with us. So we'll go ahead and get started. And I know Jacob always tells me, I think I'm supposed to point it at him, right? Or not sure which way. Yep, he says wait for it and go. Okay, so like we just said, we're going to run through a quick welcome and see if we have any new folks with us that in this brave room want to say yes, they're new. We're going to pause and reflect as part of our culture here and those that have departed from us. And then we're going to really have a future-focused meeting. We're going to talk a lot about strategic plan, and then we're going to talk about the master plan. Kevin promises to move through strategic plan quickly because he thinks you guys might be a little bit more interested in master plan. Not that strategic plan is not important, Kevin. We love it, and we have some good things. It all ties together. All right. Is anybody brave enough to say, this is my first campus gathering with all these people and I am new? And if so, we would love to welcome you if you're willing to put your hand up. And we do have someone new. So Elijah's going to come and bring a microphone. If you don't mind just introducing yourselves and letting us know where you've moved from and where you are now.
Okay, my name is Jackie Gedrose, and I'm from Louisville, Kentucky.
Wonderful. We're so glad to have you. Welcome. Anybody else new with us for the first time? Excellent. All right. Because we do not have a lot of move-ins that have happened in January, you'll see here that our new resident orientation is not going to be held in this month, but we're going to pick up in February. We like to kind of have more of a group together for that, so just a little note with that. And then, Brenda, I'm going to invite you up here as you can take us through some reflection.
January can be a very hard time as our days are only just starting to get longer, and it is often a season of a lot of loss. And so we remember a number of our neighbors as we call their names out loud. Herbert Moyer, Winnie Moyer, Mary Lou Rodney, Jocelyn Hill, Janet Figelski, Shirley Bullock, Jim Chatham, Barbara Campbell, Robert Ralston, and Roy Carter. Let us take a moment as we hold these people in our hearts and our memories. We are grateful for each life represented by each name, by all the deep impacts that each of these individuals have had on our community, the ways in which they continue to, through their memory and their impacts on our lives, weave into our lives. They remain part of our community, and we are grateful. Thank you.
Thank you, Brenda. Before we jump into transitioning to what our strategic vision is ahead, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention a real winter storm might be coming upon us, right? Hopefully you've all received a great communication from Chad that came out the other day just to say, let's get our preparedness hats on, right? Making sure that we're ready and being mindful. I just want to give you peace of mind that our team will be having a meeting tomorrow to finalize our preparations. We're making sure who's staying over, who's staying where, how we're doing things, and any type of impact to services we'll be communicating tomorrow to you all about what we're anticipating. Right now, it's good old North Carolina weather. My kids say 18 inches of snow. I don't think that's quite going to be what we're going to have, but Xavier's wishing very hard. And so I think it will be some form, right, Chad, of ice, snow, mix, wet, cold, and somewhere in this to this. So we will be prepared as always. I just wanted you to know to please be on the alert for communications related to any impact to keep our staff safe and keep you safe. So that will be coming soon to you all. All right. Strategic plan. I'm going to have Kevin come up and take us through kind of, I want to take you on a journey today. So we're going to talk about a lot of information. We're going to talk about things in a broad sense and then kind of bring it to how it applies to our campus. And then we're going to transition into what is strategic plan and then how does that go to master plan, okay? And we'll have opportunity for questions along the way. That's the clicker.
Okay, that's the clicker. Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. Can everyone hear me okay? All right. I'm Kevin Schwab. I have the honor and privilege of being the president and CEO of Givens Community, so thanks for allowing me to speak today. I'm going to take you through the strategic plan. It'll probably be about 3 hours to get through it, so bear with me, and then we'll spend about 5 minutes on the master plan. That's exactly what you want. And where I'm from, this storm is really a kind of a flurry. So, and I'm glad that we are a little bit more predictable than meteorologists as well. So, but just to kind of go through, so this is a revision of our strategic plan that we kind of put together about 2 to 3 years ago, that we had a lot of input from the board of directors as well as residents and team members. And this is a new plan that we kind of went through the process in 2025 for launching in 2026. All right, and it's very less prescriptive than our last strategic plan, knowing that we have different communities with different needs and different programs and services with different needs and strategies that need to take place. So this is really a global type of strategic plan, and each community is going to have their own real goals that ladder up or associate with the plan in general. So this is a Givens Communities strategic plan, and Kirsten will kind of walk through a couple of examples how it kind of relates to Givens Estates and other programs and services. But really it's focusing on advancing our mission, strengthening our operation, and expanding our reach while remaining grounded in our mission and vision. That's the purpose of this, and you'll see as we go through it. But it's really organized around a few things. One is 3 strategic pillars and 6 guiding principles that are not really necessarily a strategic initiative or pillar, but it's just really those guiding principles that we are going to always do well or always have focus on. All right, and it's really, like I said, organization-wide key principles with specifics at the communities and programs and services and departments. But it really, like I said, it moves away from that more prescriptive type of plan that we had previously and puts some more generalities so we can emphasize some more broad goals for the communities, for Givens communities, and narrow in more focus at the community level. It's going to be hard to see this, I know, probably at the board, but this is kind of what it's structured around, those various things. So obviously we know our mission, vision, and core values that we established a few years ago. That's our overarching path forward and where we're visioning to where we want to be and how we're going to do it through those core principles. Our strategic guiding principles are those things that are overarching, and those are things that we're not going to deviate from. And we'll go through these a little bit more specifically, but it's mission integrity, financial strength, and stewardship, being people first, having strong governance and accountability, and then finally environmental care and sustainability. Those are our guiding principles. But our main pillars, or our main things we're focusing on through goals and initiatives, are excellence and experience. How do we do our operations very well, and how do we just perform well? People and culture. We have to put a lot of intentiveness to this and intentionality to this, because it's the people that carry out the work. And then finally, it's expanding our impact or growth. All right. And below those are some key performance indicators that are going to tell us how we're doing on those things. Does that make sense? And when we talk about some of those, our strategic guiding principles, this will be on Touchtown, so I'm not going to go through this specifically. I do want to seriously allow more time for the master plan. But one is mission integrity with a couple of bullet points. I'm not going to read them specifically, but it's really all growth and innovation must serve the mission and preserve our identity. Okay, so we're not going to go after every shiny object, right? We're going to be mission focused, and it has to, whatever that thing is that we're going to have into the future, it has to be mission focused and related to what we do. The next one is financial strength and stewardship. That means when we do something, we have to make sure it's going to be feasible, it's going to be fiscally responsible, and really understand that it's residents' monies and other things that we need to make sure that we're going to be here for 50 more years in advance, right? So that's going to be just this overarching principle as well. Being people first, we are a set of buildings, but but we're really structured around people. And that's the thing that we're going to focus on. We're going to talk about the master plan, but that master plan, how does it function with the people, right? That's the key part there. And then strong governance and accountability. We have a good, strong governance or board of directors process, and the accountability needs to be clear to both internally for ourselves, but also to residents and vice versa. So that's that other strategic principle. And finally, but not least, is that being sustainable and caring for the environment when we do initiatives or we build buildings or putting replacements in for capital assets. So it's not means that we're going to put solar panels and everything, but we're going to look into things and make sure we're doing the right thing for the right reason. Okay? Does those make sense? In the past, we had some of these included in our pillars, but it's really, financial stewardship was a pillar in the past, but it really should be everything we do. Should it not? We should be always fiscally responsible, and that's why it was a principle rather than an initiative. So our first pillar is really focused around excellence and experience. All right, it's focusing on reliability, efficiency, and stewardship. Right, it's getting the work done right the first time. It's making sure we have smooth operations. It's making sure that we're acting like a multi-site organization where we're sharing best practices, we're sharing resources, and we're sharing those types of things. All right, that's what that is centered around, with those initiatives that are around it. And you can read the long sentence that kind of is the main focus for us. But like I said, I'm not going to take as much time. But the objectives around excellence and experience are around align operations to enhance services. It's establishing clear and consistent policy and procedures. Currently, we have 3 life plan communities. Sometimes we have 3 different policies and procedures, so we have to get things consistent. And with consistency comes lower costs and all those things, efficiencies. Number 3 is strengthening planning and execution. When we roll out a project or we're building a building or whatever we're doing, we want to make sure we're executing it and planning for it appropriately. That's what that is tailored around. Number 4 is leveraging economies of scale. We're a bigger organization today, so how do we leverage that economies of scale? right? How do we lower our costs, which ultimately lower your fees or keep your fees more steady? Number 5 is invest in technology and innovation. That's where we talk a lot about technology and innovation. It comes in a lot of different forms, sometimes real physical technology, but sometimes just doing things more innovative. And it's putting some focus on that. Our industry does not do a great job on technology. It just doesn't. I think we're above the standard on technology, but we can continue to do better in more advancements with that, especially as people age in place and other things. We need to start investing better in technology. Okay, that's that pillar. I know I'm going real fast. Slow me down if you feel like you need me to, or we can open up for a couple questions. Our pillar number 2 is centered around people and culture. And that focuses on engagement, development, and retention. People are the heart of what we do at Givens, right, in terms of our team members. And we all appreciate our team members. It shows during our employee appreciation gift at the end of the year. Those objectives around people and culture are deliver a competitive and equitable total rewards package or program. That means we're paying people appropriately, competitive to the marketplace, but not only the pay and salaries and wages, but it's the benefits and the other things that are associated with that, right? That's what we call a total compensation program. Number 2 is strengthen our team members' experience from day one. That's talking about how do we orientate new employees? How do we bring them on board? How do we show them things? How do we train them to be in their departments quicker? And this is probably our number 1 turnover area is when people start within 120 days. And so we need to do a better job of orientating new team members and getting them onboarded quickly and effectively so they stay. Number 3 is enhancing the total workplace experience. That's making sure that we're, all those things, it's improving communications and collaboration, reducing barriers to doing their job, make sure people have the right resources, and all those things leading into that. We want to be a top workplace, and I think we are, but we need to continue to strive for that. Number 4 is investing in growth and development. We've seen a lot of our programs centered around that. We need to continue going through that. That's the career growth program. That's our leadership development programs and stuff like that. Investing in our internal talent for a succession planning process, okay? And that goes into the last one is building leadership for both today and tomorrow, right? We do a lot of training for individuals and we have to continue doing that and putting focus on it, all right? Because there's a lot less people out there in the workplace to attract and get jobs. So we need to both hire more effectively, keep people, as well as train people better, okay? That's where that people and culture comes in. Number 3 is expanding our impact. That's centered around growth, reach, and philanthropy. Those are those 3 key focus areas that when we talk about expanding our impact. And those objectives are centered around expanding and reinvesting in our communities and services. We're going to be talking about that today with our master planning, right? And then that's not just master planning, it's day-to-day upkeep, it's day-to-day investing in our programs and communities. Number 2, or our second objective, is to shape the future through master planning. And that is essentially why we have a packed room here today, right, to talk about the master plan. But it's really to finalize those plans we've been talking about for a few years, but also to keep going through the master plans, right, because it's an evolution and it's a process that keeps moving. And it's lining our facilities and infrastructure and resources with evolving needs in the future, which we'll go over in a little bit as well. Number 3 is advancing middle market options, not just new communities like Gerber Park, but also keeping the middle market options within Givens communities and Givens Highland Farms and Aldersgate. And how do we get to those individuals? Because that's probably the growing, when we look at the gray tsunami, that's a big portion in that middle market where there's a lot of people that didn't save enough, but they also don't qualify for subsidized housing. And so where do they get their needs met? And so that's something that we need to put some focus on to meet for our mission and stuff like that. Number 4 is strengthen philanthropy and community outreach. Continue to grow that, because with philanthropy and contributions, we're able to do things for the middle market, things for affordable communities, as well as things that affect you as residents at Givens Estates, at Highland Farms and Aldersgate, where sometimes we can't do certain things on our campuses because we have large capital outlays for maybe new roofing or things, so we can't get to those exciting opportunities that residents really want all the time. So philanthropy makes things happen faster, and that's why that's a focus. And number 5 is just a clear communications and brand strategy and making sure that we're on point with that. And really taking a look at our branding and our communications and how we're communicating with the outside world as well as the internal world, both the team members as well as residents. All right, does that all make sense? Did I do it too fast? Okay. Do you want me to take more time on this?
No.
All right.
Oh, look, there's more.
There is a few more. I'm going to go through this real quickly because I think it's important, right? This document isn't meant to be just sit on a shelf, right? We've all been in business, right? You get a strategic plan given to you by executives and it sits on a shelf and you don't do anything with it. That's not the intention here. The intention is to also measure how we're doing on some of these things. So we have some initial KPIs or key performance indicators. I'm just going to go over a couple for excellence and experience. One will be occupancy rates, right? That's important. That's showing how well we're doing. But another one might be like days cash on hand or timeliness of work orders being completed, right? And that really affects residents, as well as just other things associated with that. So that's just a few of them. And our compliance surveys, where how we get our audits, right? That we get financial audits, but it's also our state surveys when they come to skilled nursing or assisted living and other things associated with that. So those are some of those items or key performance indicators for that. People and culture, our team member turnover rate in totality, but also, as I mentioned, our biggest turnover factor is in that 120 days, when people start and they leave within 120 days. Team members are not adding a lot of value in 120 days just because they don't know the place, right? And so we need to keep them longer. And so that's a key measurement and how we're going to look at things. But it's also participation in development leadership programs and looking at internal promotions versus external hires. And all those are some of the key performance indicators. Okay? And then finally, how we're going to measure expanding our impact, new units developed or reinvested in, philanthropic contributions, measured many different ways. Some are community outreach engagement statistics, as well as but a key one is the financial ratio. It's called age of plant or facilities. That's how well we're investing in our community. Okay, so that's some of our KPIs as well. And so the next step, so what's happening now, and I know Kirsten and the team here at Givens Estates and Highland Farms and Aldersgate, they're submitted organizational goals for the community and how they associate with some of these objectives and pillars. And it's purposeful, not that we don't want 100 different goals, because when you have 100 different goals, what happens? It sits on a shelf, or you might be mediocre on 100 of them. We'd rather be very, very good at 3 goals and really complete those and knock them out of the park. And so that's kind of the things that are going to be happening now. And I think in the future, we might share those organizational goals, I think, with you all, but not today, because we want to make sure we go to the master plan. But that's going to be the next steps with the strategic plan. Make sense? Any questions? All right. All right, there's a slide that Kirsten's going to give some examples.
So then we'll do a little bit of some questions on strategic planning. So I love you all. We were at a resident board meeting, and I think it was Sarah was like, so who cares? Right? How does this matter to us, right? Right? That's a real question, right? And so great business philosophy. So I pulled off of that sheet that Kevin was just talking about that our team has started to work on 4 examples. So you can kind of see how we've taken that plan and made it applicable here. So this is one of David May's goals. David has many of them. No, you can all hold him accountable now. It's on the screen. So a couple things what I'm going to say. On this campus, one of the things we're working with is in partnership with you all the resident committees that support the department is working with the department on their goals together. So if you're a dining committee team member, this shouldn't be a surprising goal to you, or it won't be as you're sitting together, because we believe that, again, working with other teams and HR to make sure that our employees are retained and satisfied and appreciated is a good thing to focus on, right? Goes to that people and culture we just talked about. And David, why do we care? He's going to measure it because he wants to see a 5% increase in those We Care Connect surveys, like do we like dining, yes or no? We take a good look at those. We would hope that if the team is here, retained and doing a good job, we're going to see some positive numbers. And ultimately, for you all, what it means is if you have less turnover, you value that relationship, you get to know your server, you get to know who's preparing the meals, and that you should have some of that consistency together. Where's Mr. Tipton? Tom Tipton in the back. This is Tom's favorite. Tom's like, I saw all the heads nod when he said work orders. So Tom heard you. So he has a goal to really focus on reducing work order completion time, right? Making sure that he can efficiently and effectively speed up the process from when he receives a request to completing that, right? Why does that matter to you? Because for you, a completed work order is quicker time, less interruption of services, and again, hopefully being able to focus on other things going on. So he's going to be adventurous and really try to see if he can make some improvement targeting even in that 20% time. Myself, this is my goal: develop and implement a comprehensive training program to educate residents and staff on what is citizenship and what does that mean at our campus. And that's going to look like some goals of at least 50% of existing staff and new residents and existing residents will have the opportunity for us to, and we'll have to build things out, learn what this model means. And what that works means, like you'll see, is that you have a shared voice. Like we said, you might have a resident, the Real Connection Subcommittee might be sitting and meeting with the Life Enrichment Department or Resident Services to figure out how together do we move together. And lastly, as we get ready to go into master planning, you are part, and your voice is really critical to me by modeling citizenship in master planning. So my job is to make sure that we have this comprehensive multi-year plan that I take you on the journey of. But what I'm going to measure and hold myself accountable to is that there's going to be at least 5 key design elements in our master plan that have come from thoughts and ideas and things from you all, so that you can find where your voice has been heard and that that's reflected in that. So does that kind of make sense through that journey of this big company strategic plan? It helps us as an organization for the next few years to focus where we're going, but in the day-to-day, you should be able to feel and experience the implementation of those goals. Right? So a lot more to come on that, because that really is going to, again, catapult us into that. Questions for anything on strategic plan? I have a couple folks running around. Elijah, you have, we're going to start in the corner and then we're going to come down here. Go ahead, Ken.
So this is a really ambitious plan. It's taken a lot of time to develop, and I'm wondering why you limited it to 3 years. I would have preferred a 5-year, because in 2 years you're going to have to start working on the next 3-year plan. So why 3 years rather than 5?
Yeah, that's a good question. One is because our industry is changing so quickly, right? And so we envision this is going to be our 3-year plan for now. A lot of these things I think will carry over into future plans too, is right. But we want to make sure that we're not putting ourselves in a corner where this industry changes so quickly, right? That's why.
But I'm going to take you at your word with respect to that. Things change. At Givens, one of the things that's changing, since we are always so full, is that the population here is getting older. And what? Well, and where that is specific to strategic planning is an example. In Building 140, we have 2 handicapped parking spots. At one point earlier this year, we needed 8. What I missed, and I don't mean to be too critical because I know you are all concerned about it, but I really missed there were 2 words in all of those slides that had anything to do with the problems of aging. You talked about middle income and you talked about older residents. What you did not talk about is some of the specific, and this is a rather general, this isn't specific, we are all running into these problems, and it seems to me it's important, and since you said this is, you implied it's an evolving document, I think you should have something in there that gives strength to your efforts to make this a campus for the real elderly.
Good point. That is particularly a lot of those things that you are mentioning fall in that excellence and experience category. And we didn't want to pigeonhole into any one thing because it's really a large breadth of services and programs, and we didn't want to be too prescriptive on any one item. But that's kind of where that's the line. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah.
I think as we get into the specific goals on the campus and with the resident groups, I think we can get into really calling things out. So I think we'll see some more specificity for that.
And maybe
here.
one of the KPIs should be age of residents. No, just kidding.
Yeah, right, yeah. But I think there's some, I think you'll see some of that, and you might see some of that reflected in the master plan as well. So.
Oh, yeah. Right behind you with the mic.
I'm concerned that the activities at Givens are being severely limited by the amount of space. There is one room for exercise classes, the same one for line dancing. There is one room that we use for everything.
Sure, so I'll take that one. So I think, one, you're going to see a little bit of some forethought in some master plan, that you'll see that we have some intention around making sure that there's other spaces. So I think for that right now, we're doing a couple things. One, we have to get the right things in the right places to start, right? So we might be able to grow in other additional spaces, but making sure that if a group of 4 people are meeting in a room this size, for example, right, we would need to realign them. And you've heard Christopher refer to that's always step 1, right? The second piece is, like you said, wow, exercise is growing. How can we just have one exercise room? And yoga. Yep. And so we're constantly working with Life Enrichment right now. Can we do yoga in here? Can we do yoga outside? Can we add an additional yoga room in master plan? And you are all going to be part of some sessions, which you'll hear for next steps for master planning, where that's the input we need, right? What's of value and importance to you, and where can we incorporate that for now and through the next few years in the ahead?
Yeah, and to add on what Kirsten said, 2 things. One is that is part of that investing in our community pillars, right? That it's in one of those buckets. But it's also, we also have to be mindful of one of our guiding principles as being good fiduciaries, right? We have to be mindful of not, having flexible spaces, because cost per square foot of $400 a square foot, we have to be mindful of that. And so some of these things do compete a little bit at periods of time, and there's decisions, but we are mindful of that, and you'll see that in our master planning.
Yeah, so I think your comment is very well heard, and I think we'll continue to talk more about it, right? I think, well, I'll respectfully, I will say that, but I'll also, but I'm also going to respectfully challenge, right? Because there's this room. I can do yoga in many different places, and so sometimes we call something the yoga room. Yeah. So I hear you very much, and that is also why you'll see some technology maybe in the future that helps us track and trend room utilization, track and trend participation, so we can go, hey, maybe we don't need this class that's not as drawing the crowd, and we really do need to expand our yoga capability. So I think, again, you are part of the equation. This, like Kevin said, is a roadmap for us to start, and we'll constantly be working more together. what I'd like to ask for next step strategically, when you look at these slides, take a look at them, read through them. If you have questions, we'd be happy to answer those or see how does that impact you in your day-to-day. We want to make time and space to address that. Is it also very cold in this room? Sorry. So, thank you. Tom is on it. Not that I don't like a little Arctic breeze, but it feels, I'm watching everybody bundle up. Thank you.
Any other questions with that?
I don't want to blow through it and move through it, but I would like to shift and transition to master plan. Can we do that? Everybody okay? All right.
And we'll measure precipitation this weekend.
That sounds good. I love that.
All right. Do you start? Or
I think I start. Let's see. Yeah, we're going to kind of toggle back and forth. Do you want to just stay there and I'll kind of come over here? So I think it's important that we listen to kind of let me start over. We got together, a year ago? We talked about master plan. We rolled one out. So what I want to do is kind of bring us back to the same place. Why are we making certain decisions? I want you to know the why. I know y'all want to see the pictures. We're going to get to the pictures. But I do think it's important. So some of the things that influenced what you're going to see on this plan is you've all said, gosh, our assisted living is old, right? That's not new information. And you know what? I actually think that some people are having to move all the way into skilled nursing because we either don't have the right number in assisted living or the wrong things. And we have folks that maybe are in skilled nursing that actually need to be in memory care. So we have like wrong people in the wrong places. And so one of the things that influenced this plan is that we really felt like we needed to right size and align everybody in the right space, including specifically our memory care folks with that, and that folks would be better served in the right area. Y'all are quiet group, right? A quiet group that doesn't give any feedback. So things that you have said to me during the master plan before, things that you've said recently, things that are in the We Care Connect are things like, we just talked about it. What is the accessibility on campus? How do I get from one area to the other? How is my car there? What is the walkability of the space? What is the safety of my walking on this campus? You've said, please, please, please build new assisted living that looks like dignified living, just like independent living. We want our brothers and sisters there to have the same experience. We feel we need memory care. We must have that. You've also are so kind and thoughtful about staff. You're always like, where are the staff going to get a break? Where are the staff going to work efficiently? How are you going to not have maybe David pushing meals through the hallways, right? All different things. Traffic patterns, traffic, speeding, stopping, all the things that go with that. And my favorite P word in yours, parking. Parking, more parking, and don't forget parking. So all of the master plan goals that you're going to see come up really take your feedback, and Kevin's going to give us a little bit of what's going on around us, and I hope you see that what we're going to end up showing you talks about our goal to develop a new master plan that has neighborhoods in it for memory care and assisted living. We've also talked about being one campus. You've said, oh my gosh, when I go visit my health care, it's over here, it's over there. I have all different areas. Is there a way to consolidate it? That was our goal. Can we modernize things? Can we bring us up into the new current situation? Can we maintain long-term strength and financial stability? Can we make sure that we're using that environmental, site sustainable kind of good principles? Are we making sure that as a business, we're making a good use of our dollars, we're reducing our financial risk, and that we're going to be an organization that's going to be here another 50 years? And again, address current parking, right? Okay. So that's kind of what's going on here. Did I summarize some of the key things we've been talking about, right? Okay, I want you to know Kevin's going to take us through what's going on in the world all around us.
Real quick, because I know everyone wants to get to the main stuff.
Yeah.
But, you know, the current skilled nursing landscape looks, you know, like this a little bit, where demand for skilled service exists, you know, with the demographic and growth, but headwinds persist in the industry in terms of where care wants to be provided. And we have, especially in skilled or health services, workforce pressures, right? That's where the biggest healthcare pressures are, with lower nurses, lower CNAs. There's a desire to age in place, or age in the lowest cost as possible. That's aging in place. The regulatory environment is not getting any more friendly, right? It's actually getting worse. And the changing consumer preferences, no one is knocking on the door to say, I want to go to skilled nursing, right? It's mainly a need-based, right? So there's a lot of consumer preferences. Reimbursement shortfalls, which relate to, the cost of care versus the reimbursement levels. There's a disconnect by the government level. It just is. And when we have that disconnect, it gets subsidized through independent living fees and services. That's just kind of how it works. And then aging services, aging buildings and facilities, not only on our campus, but nationwide in terms of skilled nursing. Because guess what? No one's building new skilled nursing facilities. Right? That's the reality of what's happening. The industry is going through the cycle of right sizing, right? That's what's happening in our industry. And right sizing doesn't mean just totally downsizing, but only 2 CCRCs that have been built since 2021 included skilled nursing. They're including other health services, they're including assisted living and memory care, but they're not building skilled nursing for all those reasons I just said. Right? Because with the cost of capital and the cost of construction, you never pay that building off in terms of through those fees. It's just impossible. And that's why they're not being built. And this change is due to all those things I just talked about. Mainly, a lot of it workforce shortages, but also Medicaid and Medicare shortfalls and changing, and all these supplemental plans. The supplemental plan or insurance plans make all the money. They don't pass it on to the provider. Right, that's just the reality of what happens. And so the right-sizing trend is, this is a statistic that Ziegler, does everyone remember when Tommy Brewer came in? So that's where some of this information comes from. But where people are right-sizing the organization, and more than half are doing something in regards to right-sizing, in terms of looking at their skilled nursing or health services and looking at reducing it, for the reasons I said, but also with alternative care models that are coming into place. All right, so that's what this slide is telling us. And then skilled nursing units are primarily supported by external admissions. So this data is our data from Givens Communities as of 12/23. And this has been pretty consistent. I could take this picture in June, I could have taken this picture today, and it basically says the same thing. So, oops. This does not work. Okay. So Givens Estates is on the far left. So what that's saying is the green is all our residents. So Givens Estates, thank you, Vanna. So Givens Estates is on the far left, and this is the population in skilled nursing. So out of the 58 individuals that were in skilled nursing on Givens Estates campus, 34 were campus residents. 22 were external admissions. And those external admissions, if we're losing money on them, you're subsidizing them. All right, that's the truth and reality of it. Highland Farms, of the 41 residents, 23 were campus residents, 18 are external. And at Givens Aldersgate, look at that, dramatic, right? They have a very large skilled nursing. That's one of the issues that they had, and why we now are part of them, or they're part of us. Sorry, 84 people are from the external campus, and only 23 are from Givens Aldersgate. So that puts a large burden on the campus, right? So this is telling us kind of some very hard numbers of where certain numbers want to be for where health services are. This is the same graph, but now it's for assisted living. So assisted, and it's the same order. So Givens Estates, out of the 41 residents, 23 are Givens Estates residents. 18 are from the outside. At Highland Farms, their number is just more in line because they only have 25 units that would be considered assisted living, and most of those individuals are from the campus because they don't have a very large assisted living. But Aldersgate, same thing, 28 residents with 11 external people. Okay.
And I'll say this too. I know that many of you are like, I know we have a wait list at assisted living, but many of you have also said, I don't want to move there in the present because the age of the units, the size of the units, it's not meeting our needs. So in that situation, we as an organization have then had to rely on those external folks. But it does prove the fact that there is a need for that assisted living very strongly.
Yeah. And other thing that's a contributing factor for both for skilled nursing and for assisted living, people are moving into those venues much later in their diagnoses, right? So or they're just going there for rehab. So the length of stays are extremely short as well, contributing to that factor. And that's true for assisted living as well. People are moving into assisted living later stages than what they used to because they're aging in place and with some assistance as well as some other technologies that help them. Here's a dramatic slide. We don't have memory care, but Aldersgate does. 16 residents are campus residents, 27 from are external in memory care. So that's just, and this is important to understand. So when we go to this planning in the next slides as we talk about it, we want to make sure that we're right-sized to serve the residents of Givens Estates on this campus. That's our primary responsibility and our primary concern, especially when we're talking about the significant investment in building or new buildings, as well as just the cost of capital, all those things. And so we want to make sure that we're here for you, but we can't overbuild and then supplement that extra inventory with external admissions would provide more losses to us, more external risk, and all those things associated with it, okay? So this was just one factor and one statistic that I thought was pretty eye-opening for us, but I thought it would be very relative for you all. Does that make sense? I'm gonna turn it over to Kirsten because you probably weren't paying attention to anything we said because you want to see this.
And hopefully that information was not new. I think you've heard me allude to that at different times, right, about our campus and our numbers, but I do like facts and data. All right, so here's what we're going to do. First of all, I don't know if you can see that, we're really talking about the next 10 years at a minimum, right? I'm going to show you 3 phases. The phase 1 is the one that we've been talking about like last year and we put on hold. But I'm also going to show you phase 2 and phase 3 because I think it's important that you know how it all pieces together. I'm going to move a little quickly because some of them build on each other, and then I promise you we'll take questions, okay? Sound good? All right, and I know they can be a little smaller or whatever, so I'm going to kind of try to talk through what we have. Phase 1, we are going to be doing 3 things. Number 1, we are building a parking deck. Yay. So that parking deck is not going up. It is going to go more down into the earth. You've heard me say that we love that THW takes advantage of the topography of our land. And so they have a design where almost, I think, David has shared, if you think of the orientation of that is Upper Asbury, right? The Upper Asbury parking lot is kind of that middle layer is about right where we're going to kind of have the ability to drive into that. So we're not going to be much higher than what we are already. It's just going to go a little lower. So if I live in Creekside, I'm not looking out at a parking deck. I'm not. I'm looking at kind of where my space is now with cars and down. Okay. A lot more to come with that. Let me say this sweeping comment. This is concepts. This is not definitive design in terms of the unit spaces and things like that. Vanna is coming to the slides to support me. I love that.
Just to orientate everyone.
Thank you.
This is the entry to the campus, Sweeten Creek.
Correct. Thank you.
Just so everyone knows. Asbury.
There's the pond, right?
Right here.
Yep. And then Asbury is there. And then number 1 is Upper Asbury. So parking is going to occur. This is going to be a gain of parking spaces. Obviously, there's some there, but we're adding parking spaces. The Lilac building, number 2, is going to be our new health services building. We talked about health services before, and originally we had said, what, assisted and memory. This building now also has short-term rehab and long-term rehab. So this is our skilled nursing, assisted living, and memory care. This is an entire health services building. Okay. And then, and I'll come into it. And then number 3, which is that kind of rose color, that is going to be new independent units that is going to be built. Okay. And we're going to talk more and go deeper into some slides. Great. So yeah, so where is Friendship Park, Kevin? So you'll see a little pink building that has a connector, a little small little piece that's connecting to 140, and then 180 wraps around the bottom part there. Okay. I'm going to go into a closer picture. I'm just going to try to hang with me on the journey. I know it's hard. Okay, so now we're coming a little closer just to that upper parking deck, right? And you can see Friendship Park in the bottom there. That's 180 on closest to Kevin and 140 on my side. This is the chapel, and that's Asbury, where that's at. That building will then have a connection to Friendship Park in addition to connect to Asbury. You will be able to stay enclosed in that building. You will also be able to still enter at different spaces right now, not coming into it, but going directly into Asbury. Okay? In that green space in the middle between where Kevin was showing the chapel and say number 2, that whole space, that is a secure courtyard that will allow for our memory care folks and others to enjoy beautiful outdoors in a safe, secure area where they're able to enjoy that and be with team members and other folks. This tries to get at some of that elevation look of, again, where the retaining wall is presently at Wesley's to give a landmark. Some folks said where our charging stations are. That will be kind of, and I don't know if you see a little slash line that kind of goes down. That's the dashed line is our existing grade, right? Because we know our parking area goes down in Asbury. So it's kind of following that where there might be a little bit above, but a little bit below in terms of that. We know that parking decks can be filled with all sorts of interesting design discussions. We'll be open to getting lots of feedback, concerns. We know there's good, there's bad. That's all going to be coming. So those are the decisions and feedback. And that health services building is going to be somewhere between no more than 5, but might actually be 4 levels. We're trying to keep, again, the building to not obstruct and to kind of fit into the space. And so as it will be nestled next to Asbury, you'll kind of see where it's filling that spot there. So everybody oriented? Yeah? Okay. I heard no.
No. Sorry.
That's okay.
It's hard to read the print from back there, and I can't read it from here.
Sure. So this is kind of a hard one to get oriented to. Let me see if I can, I'm going to go.
Where's the chapel?
The chapel is right there. So right now where you see kind of, yeah, let's go. How do you get into the chapel? Hold that question. None of my slides want to move, Jacob. Hold on. Jacob, can you go back one? Thank you. Okay. So that's the chapel. Right now, you would walk out kind of the portico share, right, in the chapel, like in Asbury, right, and I come there. Right now, when you do that in this plan, you're going to come into a garden, right? So you will be able to, you may be able to enter in other, that you have your existing outside areas that may come to Asbury. Like when you come across the bridge and you come past the columbarium, right, you could come into Asbury that way still and come up. You will, right now, we have an entrance right to Asbury on the 3rd floor where assisted living is. That is not going to be assisted living in Asbury anymore, right? Because it's going to be in this new Lilac building, to be named, needs a name. But there will be a way to enter Asbury Commons from that same area. You can also get to, so if I was going to go to the chapel, I could come in through Oxford. I could come through the building, the purple building, and cut across, or I could enter kind of up in the top. Some of those things will be all those design things as we get clearer. I don't have any further design into that, okay? All right. So what is different? I just want to make sure, different from before. So what's different is we're adding skilled nursing into this building. We weren't doing that in the last time I talked to you. We're adding parking. That's different. We are also, last time we were only adding 8 independent living units, right? It was on the bottom on that creek level. Now we're going to add this building number 3. It's we don't know final numbers, but you're probably looking something around 30 units of independent living. So more independent living from the previous plan in phase 1. This is all phase 1. But I will say in that number 3, that includes underground parking and additional street parking. The other difference is you see the star right there and the 2 yellows. Originally, we had talked about 5 homes in the Aldersgate Circle coming down. Now only 3 are coming down at this phase. Okay? And what's the other difference? The traffic flow, right? Wesley Drive, which is where you drive now, you drive past Jerry's house, is now going to end in a cul-de-sac. And the Aldersgate, which is now going to turn into the main traffic pattern that way. Okay? So I'm going to pause there for a second. Okay? I hear you all. Right? So I'm going to pause right there on phase 1. I don't think, let me just see if yeah, I'm going to go back 1 for that. So that's okay. I'm going to go, do you guys want to hold, can I get to phase 2 and then I'm going to take some questions. All right, so we have our 3 buildings we're building in phase 1. Then the question is, well, we've now incorporated assisted living into the new building. We've now had the health center, right, move into the new building. So now what do we do with those 2 locations? Phase 2 is the answer to that. So phase 2 is in Asbury. We've all talked about number 4. That's Asbury up there. She needs a little facelift. She needs a little tuck. She needs a little lipstick, right? So we're going to make sure that we're going to look at, 1, those units, those homes on 3rd and 4th floor are going to become independent living. Okay, we're going to look at some of the infrastructure in that building, whether that's the plumbing, whether that's the elevator, how things work in that building. This is Asbury's kind of facelift. We're going to look at any common spaces that we might need to refresh or tie together, and we're going to do that in this phase 2. Additionally, now the health center will come down up on the hill, and it will become what we're calling ridgetop independent living homes. Okay? You've all have told me kind of when you're going up there, right, that is more of an independent, right, it's farther away. We're again bringing the care levels to the heart of our campus, and then we're having some of that independent living up in that area. Those are not single homes. Those are going to be, again, these hybrid homes of some kind of blended mix to that. And Kevin, feel free to chime in at any time if you have things. You'll also see, to a comment earlier, like like, hey, we're growing. What about exercise, right? What about yoga spaces? So you'll see, and I know it's deceiving. I'm not a great person on plans, but you see a yellow box up there. That's a placeholder for common space, right? Do we need to have something up there that is going to allow for additional programmatic or services to be offered in that area? All of this is subject to the city saying yes. All of this is subject to making it all work. So the number of buildings may shift slightly, but to Kevin's point, right, we know as a business trying to meet the needs of others, expanding our impact, expanding our reach, that we want to take care of us in Asbury. We want to make sure we continue to have some economic variety on our campus, right? Some different ranges of types and size and prices of homes. And Asbury will continue to provide that, even though we have now more independent homes there. And we're also going to have homes up on the top. I'm going to be very honest. Those are going to be more expensive, right? As they should, right? Because the campus itself and the views and the location, and that's some of that balance that we talked about, what it takes to run the health services. But we feel that's that right size of what needs to replace on our campus. You'll also see the top one. We're going to continue to keep looking for additional parking because I know maybe that might be something in the future. Do we do something with the Oxford lower lots and things like that? But for phase 2 right now, the focus will be on Asbury and up at the Ridgetop. And Kevin, guesstimated time frame for this is still,
I would say at the very earliest 3 to 4 years out.
3 to 4 years out, right? So
the very
phase 1
earliest.
is we're in it, and then phase 2 is still 3 to 4 years out, right? Okay. This can be a little bit confusing, but this is how the slides, if we were up on the hill, up at the top of those ridge top, it's just kind of showing that the homes will kind of sit and kind of on the edge, right? And so that you'll have those views going out over the campus, kind of looking over Lady Huntington, right? That will be down below. This is a big change. This is phase 3. Phase 3 is going to be the removal of Aldersgate and Wesley. Those homes will be replaced with a continuation of what you just saw in phase 1, those independent homes that will continue to push the traffic to the farther part of the campus and keep the center around the pond and the creek as walkable, green space, pedestrian-friendly space. In that's number 7, which is those independent living buildings, each of those with roughly 32-ish, in those low 30s number of homes. So you're looking about 60 some odd, right? And the number 6 is another very large community center, multi-level, potentially 16,000 square foot center that could be a wide variety of programmatic things. In this green space that's all available in there, it might be labyrinths, it might be bocce ball, it might be pickleball, it might be food trucks. I don't know what it will be, right? This is far out, but this is bringing in some of that programmatic space around the heart of our campus. And pulling that road now all the way around, which is kind of the pattern we're doing. And so you're coming into the main campus, and then if you go this way, you're coming around and then around those independent buildings, then around Friendship Park, nestled into the health center, and then continuing with Creekside and Oxford around the top. So when it's all done in about 10 years at the earliest, way at the earliest, the campus would have these different phases. The first phase, then going back and revitalizing Asbury and then building the Ridgetop, and then phase 3 kind of around that area. Yeah, so the question is, can we get like a paper picture of this? Yes. So I can get you whatever format you need to be able to see it, look at it, turn it around, focus, right? Because I'm with you. It takes a bit to orient to that and to do that. I will say, as you know, it's important to me that those that are having their homes being impacted are communicated prior to a public display. So we did speak to some folks prior to this meeting. So those folks affected deeply in phase 3, this is not the first time that they're hearing that. I think that's important that we know that that's going to be truthful for folks, that when they move in, that they know what that area is, even though that's in the future. The other thing that is different about this plan is there's not a connector to Oxford, right? Initially, there was that bridge, so we don't have that in this plan. The connection is now through Asbury, right? And then there's that connection through Friendship Park. We are exploring, like I said, a little bit of additional parking. We are also exploring a connection on 180 side. We know that there's still that desire for the clinic to move into the new building. Finding Friendship Park a common space of gathering, that's part of the plan as well. Just figuring out exactly where in that Lilac building as you cross over and different things. So those have not changed since the last communication we had. So let's get practical. People are like, so what are things happening? When are things happening? Please know this is all subject to, right, changes and what's moving on. But in general, the villas will be coming down probably by the end of third quarter, the first of fourth quarter. So thinking about September, October, right, is when those villas, the 3 villas, will be removed. Simultaneously or around the same time, we'll be working with doing the parking first. And so this is important because, right, we have to move people from parking, build more parking, put the people in the parking, and then we can kind of go to the buildings. Let me say this, it's going to be disruptive, right? It is going to be disruptive. We are going to try to minimize that. Tom and I already talked. Tom said his team's going to get great of taking nails out of tires, right? I mean, I hate to say that, but we're going to figure out how to minimize the disruption. We're going to be mindful that this is your home. We're going to make sure where we can try to make sure that you don't feel like you're living in a construction site, but there will be times that you're living in a construction site, right? And that's where I need this open communication from you to just tell me what's going on and be part of the process before. What is going to be starting pretty immediately, and this is where I need you all, is the design and concept phase. We just talked about citizenship. We have fantastic resident committees that have already been identified as sounding boards. So I'll give example. The Safety and Security Task Force is going to work with us to develop the parking plan and navigate some of those challenges that we have. And if you're sitting here going, that is my burning desire, and I'd love to share and be part of that and be solution oriented, then we're going to have an opportunity in the back of the room. Yes, Levi says, back left over by Matt, to indicate your name. Hey, Kirsten, I'd like to add my voice to that. I think I can contribute in a positive way and not just say what I don't like, but also how we can do it better, right? I do need both sides of you. You can bring the complaining side, but you got to bring the happy side too.
Kirsten, they're also going to be tasked with the traffic flow.
Absolutely. Also going to look at traffic flow. Should we maybe change? Right now we can kind of go left or right when we go in the building. Should we change it and all go to the left? Should we all go to one way, right? All of those things need to be considered and looked at. And so we're going to, again, have a group that works through that. We're going to start getting into areas, like you said, if you have a interest to help us in dementia support and memory care, there's a sign up back there to be part of that group. I have 3 of you that I know have told me, when are we starting the healthcare committee? When are we starting wherever Marguerite is? I got you. I was going to pre-populate you on the list. So we will make sure that we have opportunities for folks to share that. I'm going to say this, that doesn't mean everybody's meeting with the architects all the time, right? But it is meaning that we're getting voice, we're working together, we're building in, I'm looking at around household model discussions, right? So when we're talking about how we can incorporate that, that work is going to start now. But really, construction, and I think David reminded me, right, these can kind of shift, and maybe it might look, even after a meeting this morning, that we have independent living buildings starting before health services. It might even flip the other way. But relatively, construction on the new buildings won't start till this time next year. Okay? So this time next year is when those construction is, because we have permitting and designs and all of those meetings that we'll be doing this year. The construction that will start this year is going to be the parking deck. Okay, in that parking area, along with the villas being taken down. We would be remiss if people always ask us, like, oh my gosh, is this going to cost a lot, right? What are we doing? We've already talked about the considerations, kind of pulling this back. Why are we on this journey? Well, you already told us that the existing healthcare building is outdated. I know when I joined here, I think it was some of the team had said, I think as soon as we built it, we knew it was outdated, right? And so I think that's why we're moving forward. We know that spaces nowadays have to be more efficient. You all know that, right? The team members don't have to be running all over. Think about it as a nurse. They're going to get to work in one building. How wonderful is that to not have to run around, right? And then back to what Kevin was saying, right? And we started talking about this. You all know this. When someone moves into the health services side, that is not a place that has entrance fees. That is more of us as an organization covering those costs, right? So this new right sizing and making sure that there's an investment in our residential living really talks about a good long-range plan. And this has been part of the plan on this campus from before, I think, Kevin and myself. So I think that's important. The other piece to take with you is this project is not tied to rate increases. I did not say you're not going to get a rate increase. What I said was this project is not tied to it, right? This is a different funding source. This is a different way of doing that, right? Kevin, maybe do you want to speak to a couple of maybe just the board approval that's required?
Yeah. So this is you are the first people to see this, right? We present this tomorrow to the board for the first time in terms of what our plan is for both Givens Estates and Highland Farms are doing kind of simultaneously. So we still have to go through that process. They're going to approve it to move forward to the next steps. But we're not going to borrow money until we get more certification on that. We're going to do bond financing to fund the building, right? Some fixed rate bond financing or some other alternative way. And we're really going to take advantage of our Fitch rating. That's why our A- Fitch rating is so important. And this, when you talk to Alan would say that this was all part of the plan. What wasn't part of the plan was 100% inflation in construction costs, right?
Correct.
And that's really what has happened since the plan from years ago, the master plan, to today. Construction costs have gone crazy, as we all know. But we still have that Fitch rating, and we're going to get lower cost of capital than a traditional organization will. And then finally, the estimated cost of this phase one is between $115 and $125 million. That's not for the faint of heart. And that's how we have to be very mindful of when we're adding things or how we're looking at the new building and why we need to add some independent living to kind of increase our revenue and as well as entrance fees to kind of help offset that the dramatic debt service as well as the interest rates that will be on that $100 million plus, right? When we look at it from, I don't know, Alan, the last time we did the master plan, oh, he's leaving. He doesn't want to talk about this. When we did the master plan, I think this was about 60 million.
Yeah.
Was to build something similar to this, and now it's 120 million. So that's the difference that we're facing today.
And we will continue to, again, share that transparency with you, because I think, again, we want to know why it's taken a little bit for us to come and present it. We want to get it right. We want to build flexibility in our plan. I will also tell you, in that health services building, the design of it is, if in the beautiful future somehow somebody finally cures Alzheimer's and dementia, then maybe we won't need a memory care unit, and those units could adjust and adapt in that building. So we were really being intentional, not only in space, balancing what you said was important, balancing the financial concerns, the needs of you all is priority, but also being intentional about who's the future coming in as well. And so there was a lot of components kind of weaving together with that. And so we really do believe that this master plan does align to just that. What you've said we need, what our future needs, and kind of what's responding in the industry, right? Increased care choices. Not everybody's moving into memory care. Some are going to have home care right in their home and stay. Others may choose to go to assisted living. Not everybody is going to want to live in a certain part of the campus. Those operational efficiencies, and really this right sizing. I cannot tell you the great job that our team does here, but we only see that environment getting harder. These numbers are teeny, so I'm going to kind of talk, and you'll have this in numbers so you can see this. But this is really talking about where we are right now. Where Kevin's at says that we have 471 independent living residents, not people, places, right? And we have 48 assisted living and 60 skilled nursing, no memory care. Phase 1, the numbers are going to change. Independent living actually goes to 476, just a little bit as we switch some of that. We are keeping our assisted living at 48, all 48, because we haven't always used our full license. So we're going to have 48 assisted living, and then adding on top of that 16 memory care. What the biggest difference is the skilled nursing number is going to go the other direction. It's going to go down to 32 from presently having 60. What did Kevin say before, though? Right? Half of our admissions in skilled are from external. So we feel very confident, very comfortable that that number meets the needs of our residents that we need to have, and again, balances all of those needs. It shifts the choice to home services, customized care, more care in assisted living, more care in memory care, and not just in the skilled environment, which is in alignment with what you all have told us you want, in addition to what's going on in the industry. If we take that growth throughout the phases, you'll really see in the total units, in phase 1, we actually go down from 579 to 572 because a lot of our shifting is in that healthcare. To rebalance our campus, right, to make sure that we have the right mix, in phase 2 and 3, the growth is occurring in independent living only. Right? That's what we have right now, as we talked about, flexible, right? What is 3 years? Like Kent was saying, I'm sure it's not 5 years. Who knows what's changing as it moves kind of through the whole place, which would put us on this campus at 730 residences at the end of that 10 plus year. Do you want to speak to maybe the ratio just a little bit, what that number is briefly?
Yeah, so down here in these numbers down here, this is a ratio of independent living units per health service bed. So a health service bed would be memory care, assisted living, and skilled nursing as a combined. So we're starting off in the current state about 4.36 independent living units to health service bed. Right? That's how communities used to be built. Remember when I was going through industry trends, that only 2 new CCRCs or life plan communities have built skilled nursing beds. The new trend, the new number is from 4 to almost 12. So
that means for every 12 independent living apartments, there's 1 health services.
That's the new,
Right.
where new communities are kind of coming in.
And we're at 4 to 1 presently.
And at the end, because this is kind of a shifting number, at the end, at the phase 3, we're at 6.6. So still half what the new communities and where the marketplace is going.
And we're not trying to get to 12.
No.
I just want to say.
We're not
But
trying to
just
get
putting
to
it in perspective.
But the
right?
target was to better right size, right? Because I talked about all those reasons. There's a lot of reasons why that 4-to-1 is now 12-to-1 for new organizations. We don't feel like we could make that work in this population, so that's why we're going from 4 to 6.6. The bottom number, so this is Givens Estates, and we're not showing you Givens Highland Farms numbers, but when you consider all in western North Carolina, we go from 5 to 7.36. And that's because we're having some shifting at Highland Farms as well. So that's kind of the targeted where we ended up being. And we didn't have a specific number, but we know we needed to be more right-sized when we went through this process.
And again, that's where we're starting the flexibility of that building. Again, that 48, 16, 32, have the ability as we learn more, see things change, to be able to move one area of care up or down if needed to be able to meet your all's needs. Simultaneously, our other home and community-based services and using Home First and using other creative programs and working on our brain health, this is only one way that we'll be addressing cognitive changes on our campus. Of course, there will need to be other things in different areas. I'm going to finish. This is the last one. I know we're over. Thank you. You guys have been great. So next steps is really now concept and design sessions. This is what we just talked about, getting together with using existing committees and newly formed focus groups to be able to start doing the what's important to a space so that we build things the way staff uses them, residents use them, and families use them. And then it would also be really going into our preparation for that on-site construction and demolition every time, that mid to late 2026. What does that mean with the parking and the different areas? That's really the next area of focus. Okay, you guys are very quiet. Questions, and we're gonna work around.
We'll only allow one question. No, just kidding.
It's fine. We will have some folks. So we have some folks in different areas. So I'm gonna start in the back. I'm gonna follow microphone. So I got Kevin, I got Leslie. So just keep your hands up. But yes.
Do you have any idea if the Asheville or Buncombe County government would object to any of the, especially Phase 1?
So David Smith is going to take that microphone from Leslie and answer the question there. Short answer.
Short answer is no. Still very much a work in progress. We did have a preliminary meeting with staff at City of Asheville, and they did not express objections, which is very good. But thanks for the good question. You all should also know we will have to go through a rezoning process for that, which means you will get a notification of our plan. Also, our surrounding neighbors will get that same notification. So you may hear something when you're at Ingalls or whatever about that. And we don't have that scheduled yet, so we'll let you know when that is scheduled. So there is a lot of work to do in that regard that could greatly change what we've shown you today.
Right.
So more to come on that.
And we did go so far to even show beyond Phase 1. So, what did they think about going on the ridge? So again, it wasn't a this, it wasn't a this. So we're going in towards more the positive with that. I will also say, as we're getting to the next question, you will also get a letter that will go out today. All of residents, I'm not using MailChimp, we're actually going to do an old school letter so that every person on this campus, all levels of care, just know what we talked about today, and that folks have the ability to ask questions. And I'm going to ask if you have questions outside of here that you go kind of through the executive director office and direct those to Levi and myself, and then we can get you in front of the right people with that. Yes, Beverly.
Kirsten, can you go back to the screen?
Maybe. Tell me this one.
If I'm reading that correctly, there's an increase of about 150 units on campus.
Yes.
And as I look across, I'm seeing the number of assisted living units remain at 48 and memory care remaining at 16. How confident are you that your numbers the need will be met by those numbers?
I think it's a really valid question. I am feeling confident. right? I will say we went through a lot of scenarios. We looked up at 32. We looked down at different configurations. We looked at a lot of different areas. And I think when you, to the best of our crystal ball, when we take into account the different ways that memory care will be delivered for the needs on this campus, I do believe they meet our needs. I will say this, I'm comfortable saying this, I don't believe those numbers are going to be able to serve the greater Buncombe community. Right. Those numbers are going to meet our residents on this campus more so, at least with our intent, is that's who's my primary focus versus the greater community at this time. So,
Kirsten?
I do. Really going back to some of those numbers and, like we said, using some of Ziegler's numbers. Again, I think we're all making our best estimates, but who and numbers and those percentages, I am. We could be wrong, but I am. You're welcome. Jim?
Yes, for both financial sustainability and environmental sustainability, which is important to us, would we please consider solar panels on any new roof?
So I think always going to sustainability, one of the other documents that we didn't share here today is David Smith, right, in his position has helped create kind of project standards that is going to bring in our principles always to be under consideration of any kind of project we do. So always looking for evaluating solar, what is all the sustainable commitment is always going to be part of our project standards to be evaluated to see if we can do that. So that won't be forgotten on this one.
I guess I have two questions in two different areas. First of all, with regard to what you presented, can you give us cost estimates?
I hear you. Cost estimates?
Cost estimates for phase 2 and phase 3.
Ooh, I cannot, but we'll see if Kevin can give you cost estimates.
We did not get those yet at this point, just because there's inflationary numbers in there, right? Because some of those are 3 to 4 years out, and then phase 3 is 6 to 10 years out. So it's really hard. I would hate to get a guess from that. Plus, we don't want to take those numbers right now into that consideration. So.
I will say what we have done to make sure that the numbers kind of work is we are doing market studies, right? What would the price to live in a certain, like that ridge top, what is the size of the unit? Does that meet the needs of our folks that are moving into campuses saying I want smaller or larger places? That kind of analysis is presently in the works that will inform some of the costs that go with that. But we don't have that yet,
and
Alan.
I have a second question.
Yeah.
Would it be possible, after we've had a chance to digest this and can ask more reasoned questions, to come together in perhaps a town hall environment where those who are particularly interested in hearing what others have to say will be able to benefit from the town hall experience?
1,000%. So the question is, now that this is a lot of information, we're kind of, right, now we have a plan. We can now start talking freely and have questions. Absolutely. I think, Alan, things are going to come up. Happy to host a town hall and bring some of those questions. I also made a commitment to kind of more ongoing updates now that we're kind of going into a need for more frequent communication. So absolutely, Fred.
A very famous architect, Mies van der Rohe, made the statement modified from a lot of other disciplines. God is in the details. There are a couple of real big details that you presented. Can you go back to the plan so that one of the general plans?
Sure.
Now, I admit that I am one of the people majorly affected, but I'm in building 140. And 140's got this problem that is going to get a lot worse in 3 regards. As I look out my window, I'm now going to be looking into a building that's not very far away. That's number 2 on there. Building 140 is the building that is just down from that. And that building is pretty close. It's going to be towering over me. It's also going to be towering over the people.
Oops. Go ahead. Sorry, I was trying to get over there. Go ahead.
It's going to be towering over everybody on the north end of Building 140. I hope that these discussions will be broad enough and detailed enough that we can talk to people in an effective way where I, for instance, could suggest, can't you remass Building 2 so that it steps up away from Building 140 so that we're not all faced with that. Likewise, you are putting it across the street from me. I'm already looking into the parking lot. I'm now going to be looking at a parking lot that's going to come up further, and it's going to be harder for me to get to. That brings up the third issue, which is not a detail at all, and you know, many of you know what I'm going to say. It's about parking. If you're in Building 140, parking is becoming impossible. This makes it worse. You're giving us a lot more parking on this diagram, but we can't get to it very easily. And it's easy to say, well, it's not that far, but we're an aging population.
Sure. So I appreciate the building view comment, the parking, like you said, and just the parking view and the parking accessibility. Absolutely, we will be sitting and meeting and getting into the details of those folks.
The general comment is, it is really important that there be meaningful input that may be a lot more. It can't necessarily happen in big environments.
It will not. It will happen in probably a lot of, I'm expecting to be in a high volume of intimate conversations. I mean, seriously, right? A lot of very smaller groups, manageable 10 to 12 people in that. So I absolutely, I hear you on that.
Well, just remember, God is in the details.
God's in the detail. It's my next tattoo.
We also have to remember, we can't have 700 people design the buildings, right, or the master plan,
but
right?
yes,
I mean,
we will have, we will go through, we will work through. I'm going to go for Bill in the back.
Kirsten, as you know, I was on the dining committee for 3 years. I'm free at last. But I know a lot about the renovations and the dining, the progression of dining since that time. Consultant in 23 said our serving area and Market Craft is completely wrong. Another person who's been here with expertise in dining said whoever designed it has never been in a kitchen. There are financial costs to this that would be of concern because it's inefficient, and our terrific new dining director is struggling and fighting the tide against the inefficiencies of all this. And so the other thing I would say is, if you start adding, the facilities now are not adequate for the people who are here. This all needs a redesign. Some things need to happen sooner rather than later. So my question is any thought being given to dining?
Yeah, so very good point. Two things. One, overall with growth, right, of independent, we are going to constantly be you have to evaluate common space impact, demand, load. So yes, specifically for our favorite Market and Craft, that is a project outside of master plan, not to be forgotten, but a separate project. We actually talked about it earlier today. That will be another opportunity that will have a different funding and capital discussion. So that Kevin might want to speak something to that. Russ, 1 second there.
I'll give it right back to you, Russ. And I think when we go through the financing of this master plan along with Highland Farms, because it's going to be a combined financing, we might take advantage of low interest rates if that's the time to kind of fund some big capital needs, and that would be one of them, plus some other things. So yes, it's not,
but has to be. It is not forgotten. David, I can feel David May's like lasers on me as well. Yes, Russ.
Kirsten, mine's almost a follow-up to what Bill asked. If my numbers are right, there's a 35% increase in independent living units here.
Yeah.
What are we doing to also add to the infrastructure, like dining venues and other infrastructure needs?
Yes, absolutely. So that common space, right? So that like number 6, that's a common building. Phase 2 has a common building. When we redo Asbury, we'll have to revisit common spaces. So in all of those times that we're looking at those builds, you're absolutely right. We're looking at what is needed. Is it a restaurant up on the hill? Is it a yoga studio? Is it what is the needs of the campus? We haven't gotten into those details. So so it's not that I'm avoiding the topic. I just don't want to, talk. We haven't decided exactly what's there, but there will need to be a review of that.
Yep, and she hit it on the head in terms of our biggest increase is in phase 2 and phase 3. That's why it's purposeful with the common areas. But we also are going to, each phase we go through, we're going to make sure that, through this informal process and figure out what needs from the residents are needed at those stages, because it's going to change, right? We're talking 10 years out for some of these things to be open. So it's going to change. We're going to have some more common spaces as well as the needs change and all those things. So yes.
I feel that the dining group specifically will have a lot of discussions about present and future. The other difference will be too, Russ, so that you know, in the new health services building, that will have dining consolidated in that building, right? So they'll be consolidated in terms of a kitchen, right? So right now we have we're pushing food around. Food will be prepared in 2 places now instead of kind of different places around. Yes.
I'm really pleased to see what's in the works. And I'm thinking beyond the 10-year horizon for completing this. The baby boomers came in, they forced an expansion of elementary schools, high schools, colleges, and that baby boom surge will not go on for the next 50 years. It will not provide a sustainable population for all these units. Have you considered the demographic trends of the country in terms of finding people to fill all these independent living spaces?
So I might start a little bit. I know, I'll say this. Kevin and I have not sat and chatted about it, but I have thought myself, I think he's thought through that. One of the things I love about this design is, again, there is just flexibility in the build, right? Whether, I think I said this to me, right? If 35 years from now, we have a beautiful campus that has beautiful residential living, and really we now have health services in one area, for some reason that needed to change, it could change. So I think the campus is poised to adapt to whatever maybe the future generations need.
Yeah, that is definitely something that we thought about and had conversations around. But that's a 30-year window out, and we're going to have a lot of changes in our campus beyond that. But we have to start thinking about what is that next evolution, at least in some planning. I mean, we're not going to have the answer, right? 30 years out is pretty far. And so that's something that's entered our mind.
I'd
but
like
also
to know
the
what's
industry.
going on in 30 years.
Yeah, right,
So
right. I hope to be here.
And so I think you will see that, again, there is definitely flexibility of design and services with always that in mind. I'm going to be mindful of time. I do not mind taking questions, but I'm just going to watch. Feel free to get up if you need to move, but go ahead. Teely?
I follow this thing just fine, except up there on phase 1. You have a mistake in that presentation.
Okay. What did I do wrong?
The big mistake is whoever prepared it did not, they separated Asbury from Oxford and covered it over with grass where you're walking through now to get to them.
Let's see. Hold on. Let's
go back to that
to
section. Go back
right
to
here. Oh, you are correct.
Right.
They did cover it with grass. See it right there?
Yeah.
Decided to get rid of connections.
So
we are not separating the buildings, Teely.
I mean, presentation drawings, I've done these with kids for the last 25 years. But the big deal is those things can be confusing, and that's a 2D, not 3D.
Yeah.
And somebody's got one of those landscaping programs added in there, and they put grass where there's connected.
You are the first person to catch that, sir. Thank you so much.
Double the parking space, and you're not going to be that much higher. You're digging out, you're not digging up.
Yeah.
You're going down.
Well, we'll keep bringing back better. I definitely am not going to remove connections. I will do that. Thank you. All right. Kathy.
So, Kevin, you mentioned the need to continue to invest in existing infrastructure. My understanding has been one of the big projects on our plate is the replacement of the Oxford roof. How is this going to potentially impact that project?
Well, it's not going to impact that project, right? It's still on our radar, and it's something that we have to plan for. I think, as we go through this financing, which will be later in this year, kind of timed with that timeline, we're going to take some input from the team here, from facilities and other areas that need these significant capital infusions for improvement areas or capital needs, such as Oxford roofing and some other things, and make sure if it's the right time to get some funding for that, right? Take advantage of our interest rates, take advantage of our Fitch rating at that time. Back in 21, when we went through our last financing, which was mainly for Givens Highland Farm campus for their 2 expansions, we also took out, I think it was $2 to $3 million of capital improvement dollars. So we expanded our debt offering by about $3 million to use for capital projects on our campuses. And I think that's how the Welcome Center was built, right, David? I believe with those funds, right? Yeah, the Welcome Center was built with those funds. So I think that's the strategy we're going to take place for those big items that are coming up, which that's our biggest one on the campus here. Outside of just routine roofing on some of the smaller units, but that's our big capital. Does that make sense?
So just again, kind of next steps from here is Matt is in the over here in the lovely red sweater waving. If you would like to kind of indicate your interest to be actively involved in more of those smaller feedback sessions, design sessions, please pop by and put your name over there so I can follow up with you. Many of you I already know, but others I may not. The other thing is you will get a letter, like I said, just kind of recapping what's going on in Phase 1. That same communication will be going to our staff today. And I love the idea that was suggested to come back together, Alan, maybe after we digest this and have a town hall in the future. Also, as we get a little bit clearer on some dates. So that's at least just, I wanted to get this out so we can start talking, so we can have open conversations, so we can be transparent, and then continuing to get to work. Layla.
Thank you. At our next presentation of the master plan, I would love to see Kevin Schwab do an interpretive dance.
An interpretive dance. Yes. Who says yes to? Oh, wow. You got a lot of Kevin, very.
You're sorry you got me the mic.
I love that. I think that's fantastic.
That was my comment, honestly.
I'll practice for the next 3 months.
I know Anita is ready to give us some lovely beverages of our choice and some appetizers from our dining team. I hope that this was informative. I hope this was transparent. I hope you know a little bit of the why, and the team will be around and we can answer questions. And again, this is just the beginning of our journey together. So thank you, guys.
Thank you, everybody.